According to my friends who got up and watched the game with me at 6:30 in the morning of Team Canada versus Japan in one of the first events of the 2020 Olympics. So it was quite exciting to see Christine Sinclair appear in her 300th cap, score her 187th goal, but then tie Japan 1-1. And that's basically what you're going to read in the articles about that game. But I'm here to provide you about all the details if you were up and want to hear more about the analysis, or if you slept through and want to know what were the nitty-gritty details. As mentioned, Captain Sinclair had a historic day, having her 300th cap, being one of 4 international players to do so, but the first non-American. Go Sink! And as said, she capped it off with an amazing goal, but Team Canada fell 1-1. And I say fell as in they looked like they were going to win it for basically the whole game until Japan scored on a weird counterattack. So we're going to go through some important moments in the game and some important players and kind of start from the back, because the back is where everything went very dramatic in the beginning of the first half. In case you missed it, Steph Labbe got injured, got a yellow card, stopped a penalty kick, then proceeded to exit the game because of said injury after making 2 more phenomenal saves. So basically she had 3 saves in like a minute and a half span, and then came off and Kaylin Sheridan came on, and then she conceded the 1 goal in the second half. Not much in her own responsibility, but honestly it was just a crazy whirlwind of the second half in that aspect. So it was kind of weird to see that Kaylin Sheridan came on for Steph Labbe, as it was basically the opposite of what had happened in She Believes, when Steph Labbe had to come on for an injured Kaylin Sheridan. So our goalkeeper injury woes continue, but hopefully Steph Labbe will be healthy for the next game, because honestly she gives me a lot of confidence in the back, and I don't have that same confidence in Kaylin yet. I don't know if that's just due to her lack of experience with the national team, but I'm hoping Steph can come back and kind of show that she's healthy. And I think it was the shoulder, but hopefully it's just a little knock. The next big thing I would notice was Buchanan was unbelievable again today. Her distribution from the back is world class, and that's something she talked about in her articles about going to France and learning that technical ability and that calmness on the ball, which takes you from a good center back and your physical ability to a high class center back. I know I'm not a big fan of Zadorsky, but there were a couple times where she kind of could have stepped forward, instead let Japan turn, attack, and again, under defending on the goal, kind of let the team down. She had some good moments in the game as well, but I noticed her distribution again, a lot of the long balls over the top, often straight instead of diagonal, and so I saw 2 different center backs, one who was strong defensively typically, and though Buchanan had a couple breakdowns, she usually recovered. Zadorsky, I'm just not confident with that defensive ability and that distribution. Not saying she had a terrible game, but it's hard when you're playing with one of the number 1 center backs in the world to look as good as they do. And so I'd be excited to see Giles step in there, maybe against Chile as well. But I saw definitely a contrast there along the back line. The midfield cohesion was kind of weird. Team Canada, when they started the first 15 minutes, Desiree Scott had 3 or 4 giveaways that almost resulted in goals or quality chances for Japan. Too much time trying to dribble, and Japan kind of cut that space down really well. So Canada did string some passes together later on in the game that looked pretty good. In that tight space, Quinn looked to switch the ball. Fleming kind of got lost. I don't know if that's because Scott and Quinn both play further back on the field, and so that kind of cuts off Fleming's options to attack. But with Sinclair holding more back, it means that there is chances for Fleming to go forward, and I think I would have liked to see a bit more fluidity there. There were moments of it, but Canada's strengths still seem to be lying on their wings, whether that's with their strong fullbacks or their wingers. And speaking of the wingers, it looked like it was all work, no finish, in that Christine Sinclair seemed to be the only one wanting to shoot. We only had 1 shot on target. It was a goal out of our 6 shot attempts. And it seemed that, there was that 1 offside goal, but it obviously wasn't a goal, not even a shot, because it was offside. But for these players, there were opportunities to shoot early. Janine had one where the goalie was out and decided to play it. Lawrence had a couple chances at the end of the game, and these players need to be shooting instead of trying to make that perfect pass and test that goalkeeper, who is a 19-year-old goalkeeper getting one of her first big major competition starts. Like, you have to know that. You have to test them. Even though the quality goaltender is just, you have to expect more. And expecting more, crosses, corners. Janine took 5 corners, I think. 3 of them went to the goalkeeper's hands, 1 off the crossbar and 1 out of bounds. That's not good enough. So we're putting in this work, and there needs to be a higher expectation in that final third, and it's been something Canada has always worked on. But you can't have your 38-year-old striker going for all your goals. You can't be dependent. I know they scored other goals with other means throughout the tournament, but it's really important when it comes to these big games that everyone is stepping up and you're looking to finish rather than being hesitant and laying it off. You need to be selfish. I know Leon and Viens are more that selfish player, and it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing as a striker, but they only got a couple minutes at the end to show that, and so I would think they might get a couple more minutes in the Chile game. 1, to showcase themselves, and 2, to make sure everyone's legs are fresh. I loved Rose coming on as a substitute. Out wide, she made a big impact, I thought, right when she came on. I kind of liked Janine in the mid when that happened. Like, Quinn came out, Janine went in the mid, Rose came on the wing. And there was a bit of fluidity there, a bit more of an offensive look, which I liked, because I kept Fleming out as well. So it'd be definitely interesting to look for in a formation if we're struggling for goals. But, I mean, no goals technically came out of it, but I did think the tempo picked up a bit, which was nice to see. The other thing with that would be Lawrence as well only picked up that tempo of being an offensive outside back in that last 10 minutes of the game, and I think that was a little bit too late, too little too late, to be honest. Once Japan scored, then Canada was like, oh, maybe we should have been pressing, we should have been going down the lines, and if they had played like that a lot more of the game rather than the first 10, the last 10, then they would have saw that the game would be in their hands. Honestly, Canada had possession. They had a lot of good ball movement, and I think they were just lacking that confidence a bit to take it to Japan, because Japan is a very young team. I think it said they were the 2nd youngest average team in the tournament, averaging 24.5 or something along those lines. And so when you have this young team, you kind of want to get on them early, and I think Canada started early well, but didn't kind of follow through. So these are the main takeaways I had from the game. I'd love to hear what you guys thought, if you were up at 6:30 or if you just watched the highlights because you slept in. Let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment as mentioned. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for either quick features or post-game analysis through this Olympic game.